we're going to be continuing with the income part of the Form 1040. Now, taking another look at the Form 13614C, Intake to Interview and Quality Review Sheet, the highlighted areas are what I'll be addressing in this session. My hope is that you're beginning to make the connections and discover how critical it is to review the intake sheet, gather all the source documents before beginning any input into the TaxSlayer software. So let's continue with the tax return income items. I've already addressed wages, interest, dividends, retirement income, and Social Security in the previous segment. So that takes care of lines 1 through 5. Today I'll be talking about line item number 6, total income. You will notice from the slide I have circled Schedule 1, line 22. Let me show you that schedule right now. This is a relatively new schedule, hence the draft watermark. However, we will not be deterred. As you can see, Schedule 1 has a space for both additional income as well as adjustments to income. So you will see this schedule again when we get to the adjustment segment of learning. However, let's concentrate right now on the additional income section. Line 11 deals with alimony received. If you can recall from the Income Quick Reference Guide from publication 4012 D1, alimony is one of the taxable income items. If a taxpayer receives alimony from an ex, it needs to be included in income. Alimony has its own line on the income page in TaxSlayer software. Allow me to throw a tidbit of information here regarding alimony. Not only is alimony taxable to the receiver, it can be used as an adjustment to income by the one paying it. Meaning, the taxpayer gets to reduce their income by the alimony paid as long as the payer can furnish the Social Security number of the receiver. I'll circle back to that when we get to the adjustment section. Just know that alimony represents taxable income. No more explanation is required here. Line 12 is our business income or loss line. Business income is all income earned while being self-employed. Can a taxpayer have both a W-2 income and self-employed or business income? The answer is yes. Consider this. A taxpayer works on a 9 to 5 on a daytime job, Monday through Friday. However, on the weekend, he or she operates a lawn service, mowing yards, cleaning up the landscape, cutting down dead tree limbs, raking up the fall leaves, putting out the fall flowers, cleaning up the gutters, etc., etc. That sounds kind of personal, right? Well, since the taxpayer is working for him or herself, that work is considered to be self-employment or business income. Now, from our example, the taxpayer could work for himself, or he could work for a landscaping company who employs him when they need him. My whole point is that the taxpayer is not considered an employee for employment purposes. That person is considered to be self-employed. Another look at a portion of the form 13614C, if we will drop all the way down to line 7 and 8, the taxpayer has answered yes to the self-employment question. So my question to the taxpayer is, did you receive a statement, Form 1099 miscellaneous, or did you keep records of your own income and your expenses? If he did receive the Form 1099 miscellaneous, then I would receive that and use that for input into the TaxSlayer Pro online software. If the taxpayer states that he is paid in cash or checks and he maintains his own record of income and expenses, then I would need to receive that record and put it to the side for using when I begin the input into the TaxSlayer Pro online software. You will notice on line 7, the self-employed income could come once again in the form of a 1099 miscellaneous or cash. Whichever method is used, there needs to be some kind of documentation. Now, let's look at the form 1099 miscellaneous form. Once again, it contains a whole lot of information. It tells us other income in box 3. Box 4 gives us federal income taxes withheld, but for our self-employed miscellaneous income person, his income paid amount is going to show up typically in box number 7, non-employee compensation. The form is typically what the self-employed person receives from the payer for the services the taxpayer performed. Generally, the income will be shown in box 7. If the taxpayer was paid $600 or less, the taxpayer may not receive this form from the payer. However, the income still needs to be shown as other income on the taxpayer's tax return. Now, recall the taxpayer is required to maintain his or her own self-employment records or documentation of income and expenses. The taxpayer records for VITA purposes will need to meet certain expectations. If you can look at the slide, taxpayers must maintain a record of income and expenses. The records will need to show the actual accounting method used. We only prepare returns using the cash method for VITA. There can be no inventory or cost of goods sold or employees or business use of the home or any depreciation claim. The total income received. The records needs to show the total income received, a total itemized list of expenses, and whether or not a personal vehicle was used to earn that self-employment income. The income and the expenses information or data would be captured on the Form 1040 Schedule C, the profit or loss from the business or profession. This is the actual Form 1040 Schedule C, profit or loss from the business. A through E deals with the entity information. F through J deals with the cash method of accounting, along with some other questions. And then Part 1 is the income section. Both cash as well as income received from the Form 1099 miscellaneous are go in Part 1. Part 2 is the expenses section. Notice some of the eligible expenses. Taxpayers will need to convey the money amounts for those eligible expenses. Generally, if the taxpayer is keeping their own records, they will have all those expenses already itemized and totaled for the tax preparer. Now notice Part 2, line 9, car and truck expenses. That information is brought forward from page 2 of the Schedule C, Part 4. As you can see, Part 4 is asking for vehicle information only if the vehicle was used in the self-employed business. The taxpayer will need to respond to all of the questions in order to have a deductible expense item. Additionally, please notice Part 5. Here, the taxpayer can list any additional expenses not covered on page 1 of Part 2's expenses. This schedule takes into account all self-employment income minus expenses. That is the Schedule C. If there is a net profit of $400 or more, the taxpayer is liable or has to pay a self-employment tax on that net profit. Self-employment tax is the same as Social Security taxes. The self-employment tax is figured in TaxSlayer. I'm about to throw you another curve, so hang with me. The total self-employment tax is based on the net self-employment income and is shown on the Schedule 4 Other Taxes schedule. Now, I know you haven't seen that yet, but you will. 1/2 of that total self-employment tax will be deducted or adjusted on Schedule 1. Schedule 1, remember, contains both other income as well as adjustments to income information. Adjustments reduces the income, which could result in the paying of less taxes. We're going to cover adjustments in the upcoming segment, so stay with me. Okay, so that was line 12, business income or loss. You can see that Schedule C is required. Consult publication 4012, pages D12 through D19 for screenshots of how to navigate business income expenses in the TaxSlayer software. Wow, I guess we'll stop there. Our next training session will pick up with line 13, line 19, and line 21 of Schedule 1 before moving on to adjustments on that same schedule. We'll see you next session. Take care.